Welcome to the FreeFormKnits podcast, episode 16. I am Roxanne, a knitter and crocheter whose freeform ways of crafting have led to the world of design. All the places you can find me and show notes for the episode will be found in the description box down below. Thank you for joining me. If you like this podcast, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. Okay, so I have quite a few finished objects today, and I'm honestly quite surprised about it, because I didn't think I'd get this much done. So let's just jump right into it. So we'll start off with the ones that were whips last week. So the first finished object are this pair of socks. This was a whip last week. I don't think I was even to the heel on the first sock last week. So here are my socks. This pair of socks was knit using my shortcut heel sock recipe, which is a pattern by me. It is a vanilla sock pattern that includes my shortcut heel, which is a heel construction that requires no short rows. So it's cut down, and here's the heel in a garter stitch. So these socks were knit out of Knit Picks Hawthorne, which is, I believe it's an 80-20 base, 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon. I've had this yarn for a long time and I've lost the ball band, so I don't know what colorway it is, but it is Knit Picks Hawthorne, and it's this pretty brown tonal, and I love it so much. And I knit my socks on a US 2.75 millimeter needle. So I did 50 rounds for my leg and then 50 rounds for my foot. This is a pair of gift socks. I have to do a lot more rounds on the foot for my socks because I've got big feet. But just a simple pair of vanilla socks, 2x2 rib, and I knit my sock cup down. I just do a long tail cast on. Pretty straightforward. So that's finished object number 1. And then the other finished object, which you probably noticed that I totally forgot I was wearing for a second, is this crochet top. This was a work in progress last week. I had finished the back and I was halfway through the front. And yeah, I finished this super quickly after last week's episode. So here's the top. I'll sit up a little bit. It's just a crop top. It comes about the end of my waist, and I did a little bit of a split hem. I just didn't sew up the white border. The yarn for this is this rust color is Yarnopia. I actually have a skein because I always forget. Yarn B Yarntopia in the Spice colorway, and it's just a 100% acrylic yarn. So this is on the label, but it's very like bamboo. I don't know what they do to make it feel that way. It's just a very soft yarn, very on the more splitty side than just a regular acrylic. So I don't know what they do to it to make it that way, but that is what I used for this main color. And then the white that I used for the hem and for this trim was a Lion Brand True Boo in just the white color. That's all they listed it as, and that is a 100% rayon from bamboo yarn, and the feeling of these two yarns was very similar, which was very strange because they're two different fibers, but that's that. I just made up this pattern. I crocheted on I think a 4.5 hook is what I used, and so I just sewed it up, left room for made 2 rectangles, left room for the armholes, and then did a single crochet border around the neck just because it was a little too wide. But I really like it. I kind of copped out on the length, so I thought it was going to be too short, but I'm actually quite happy with the length, so that turned out well. Okay, that's finished object number 2, and then I do have a couple more finished objects, but the one that was a work in progress last week ties into this. This hat was a finished object last week. This is my garter scale hat in worsted. That is a pattern that is coming out later this year. It's just this really great hat with this knit pearl texture, and I was discussing, I discussed my trials with making another accessory to go along with this, because this will be a collection. And I'm happy to say that my plan worked and the knit was a success. And here is a finished object. Knits. Here they are. You can see better like this. I am so happy with them. So the challenges with this, well, first off, the yarn I used for this is Knit Picks Twill in the Rosewater Heather colorway. Twill is a worsted weight base of Knit Picks. It's a 100% superwash merino wool worsted base, and it's so nice. It's so nice to work with. It feels so good. So this collection, the hard part of designing this was that for this stitch pattern, this diamond, these garter scales, you need a certain number of stitches, and it was just hard to maneuver the number of stitches you need for the pattern to get the size you want, but I figured it out and I'm so happy with them. And they have this, it's not quite a twisted rib, but it's my lazy way of twisting the rib. So you can see it here. Show it like that. It just makes the 1x1 rib look a little bit neater. I did the ribbing a little bit longer because I don't like mittens, because I like to have my fingers free. I prefer to have like the cuff long so I can curl my fingers up, or so I can fold it down. So I was really happy that I persevered with these, and it'll be such a nice collection, and I'm super excited about it. Don't quite know when I'll be releasing it or details surrounding it all yet, but I'm really happy to have made a lot of progress with it. So that's another finished object. Okay, I have 2 more finished objects that both I finished today. Actually, we'll start with this one. I have been, actually these kind of tie in, so I think it was last week that I finished this shawl that I was gushing about because I love it so much. I do love it so much, but we're gonna have a discussion about this. So crochet shawls work up so fast. I like knitting shawls. I've knit quite a few shawls. I don't think I've knit a shawl this year, actually. That's weird. But knit shawls, when you decide to knit a shawl, it's kind of a time commitment, because you know, knitted shawls, especially if you do top-down triangle, they just take a long time, a lot of stitches. But crocheting shawls with thick yarn and big hook, so fast. This shawl, I did it in a day, and the shawl that I'm about to show you, I did in 2 days because I didn't work on it all day. But if we just have a moment, look at this. Look at the tassels. I love this thing. Okay, so this yarn is, I love this yarn in the, I actually don't know the colorway name. Okay, got the label. I was prepared in the Prima Ballerina colorway, and this is the brand. I love this yarn. It's just 100% acrylic yarn. And so I bought this yarn. Originally I was going to knit this collection in this yarn, but then I got this yarn and it just had to be this because it was the shade of pink I was looking for. I love this shade of pink. It's like a almost, I guess, a grubby pink, I don't know, but it's so pretty. So and I took out this yarn. I wanted to use it. I had an idea in mind. Like I said, I had made this shawl, and this shawl didn't turn out originally as I intended it. I intended it to be bigger. I intended it to use this stitch pattern more. If you can see, it's like this shell stitch pattern. It's so pretty, but I only got a little bit of it in on this shawl. And so I took this yarn out of my stash intending to use that stitch, but the stitch pattern just wasn't showing up with this yarn. This yarn, it's not just pink, it's like this very marled pink. Like, it's probably not going to show up, but it has like this pink and white variation to it, I guess. So it just wasn't working out, so I decided to just keep it simple. I wanted a quick, simple crochet, and so I just decided to go the best shell shape, asymmetrical shell shape, and just keep it simple. And I'm so happy I did, because like, it's just super simple lace and double crochet, and it worked up so fast. And I have these big old tassels on it. It's so nice. So I actually crocheted this. I usually crochet worsted weight yarn and a 5mm hook, but for this shawl I decided to go up a hook to a 5.5mm, and it's just made it so drapey. Let me see if I can. I'm usually not good at putting shawls on like this, but it's so pretty. I just love it. It's so simple, but it was such a good crochet project. So yeah, I'm so happy with it. But that brings me into why I mentioned this shawl, because while I love this shawl, I think I'm going to frock it. Is it called frogging when it's crochet? Is it called frogging? I guess it still would be, because we call it frogging because we're ripping it, right? I guess it'd be the same. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I am going to be frogging it, not because I don't love it, it's just not what I originally intended for the yarn. And I think I just I have a better idea to use this fairy tale color. This shawl is made out of Knit Picks Brava worsted. I know this colorway is called Fairy Tale. I don't know what this colorway is called. I have to find the whole band or look it up. But I think I'm going to frog it, because I have a vision for this yarn in a different design and I want it. So this is going to get ripped out. I usually don't like rip out projects, especially if they've been finished. This is very unlike me, but I'm gonna do it because I just have a better idea for this yarn. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, one more finished object, and it's back on the Crochet Amigurumi train. So for a while I've been doing quite frequently my Crochet Amigurumi projects because I did a bunch for Easter. I'm also doing a bunch more because springtime is the time where I've got a lot of birthdays around in my family. I get a lot of amigurumi toys, so I've started crocheting those up, and I started this one I think right after last week's podcast, and I finished it today because I hadn't worked on it at all. It was super quick, though I did not finish it in a linear time fashion, but here it is. I believe he's Deadpool, right? I don't know. I haven't seen his movie. but he's a gift for one of my cousins, and I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. He's got a little emblem here that I used with my sticky felt. Kind of did the best job on it, but it was better than my first attempt, and his eyes are a little... I'm not good at cutting felt out, but it's okay, he's decent. And he's got little swords on the back. I feel like the swords, like the long part, should be pointing down, but in the pattern picture she had them pointing up, so I don't know. I just followed the picture, but I feel like, because like if he's reaching for his sword, he doesn't want to grab the blade, he wants to grab the handle, right? And I feel like this, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. And he's got this little belt, and you actually like do it in such a way so it looks like a pocket. It's really cool. So this is another really good crochet amigurumi pattern. I've been having the best luck in finding good amigurumi patterns. The pattern, the website I found it on, that will be linked in my show notes on my blog. It'll be down below. But the body is all in one piece, so his legs, the body, the head, all in one piece, and then you just do the arms really, and then you do have to do the belt separately and the sword separately and tack those down, but it was surprisingly simple. Like, it wasn't as fiddly as I envisioned it would be. So here he is. He's quite decent, I think. I have another crochet amigurumi project I'm planning that I'll hopefully start tomorrow, and then I'll have another one to show you next week. So I just crocheted him out of, I love this yarn, 100% acrylic, just red, black. I didn't actually use the white because I just used some sticky felt for the eyes. As you can see, they're not sticking down as much as they should be, but regardless. So yeah, that's him. Okay, so I actually only have 2 whips, one of which I cast on today, just to bulk up this section. So I'll show you that one first. So what inspired this? I don't even know. I have a lot of ideas for socks, I guess, just overall sock designs that I just want to knit all the socks, which is surprising because I think like 2 weeks ago I did not want to knit all the socks. But so this design will be, I've done this before, I'm trying to design a slipper, just something to throw on my feet that aren't socks, because my feet go from being very warm, like I like going barefoot, but then my feet get cold, so I just want something very simple to throw on instead of constantly putting on my wool socks, though I wear my wool socks year-round. That's not a problem, but... So this is it so far. So I envisioned it being garter. I'm doing toe up, which is not something I do typically, toe up socks. This is a worsted weight yarn on a big needle, US 9 5.5mm needle. I kind of the first draft of reverse engineering my new toe, but in worsted, so it's looking a little big, but it should fit. And I had a vision of it being garter stitch, and I'm kind of uncertain if I'm gonna like it. Like, I've only done 2 ridges, but I don't know. Should be, see if I can, yeah, it's kind of looking a little big, but envision with me here, with needles hanging everywhere. So I don't know, we'll see. This was super quick, so if I don't like it, I can rip it out. I've tried designing slippers before, and I've always gotten bored with them. I don't know, it's not that different from socks, so it shouldn't be boring, and yet. So the yarn I'm using is Knit Picks Bravo Worsted, 100% acrylic. This is the colorway Lady Slipper. Fitting. Just this super pretty purple. And I'm interested to see how whether this is going to pan out. But that's that. last whip I have to share with you, I'm actually really happy with. And I made a ton of progress on it. Oh no, I didn't make a ton of progress on it today. I made a ton of progress on it yesterday. I just turned the heel today, so a heel's good progress, right? Heel. A lot of knitting goes into a little heel. So this pattern is my own sock pattern. It is the, was this a whip last week? I don't think so. I think I only just cast it on last week. This is the Voxel Socks. This is another pattern of mine that I am knitting up a new sample and I'm going to be re-releasing this year. And the light is not being kind to this yarn, but you can see it's this super textured sock. It's got this garter ridge, which makes it super easy to count your rows on the back. Just this one little pro bump in the middle of the pattern repeat, or at the end of the pattern repeat, and then it's got this ribbed texture, but it's not completely ribbed because I don't like ribbed socks. I don't like knitting them. And then it's got this fake cable, and the camera's not helping me here, but it's super nice. And then I just turned the heel, my shortcut heel in garter stitch. I think it looks so good. So the yarn for this is Knit Pictorial Tonal in the Mocha colorway, and this has been a yarn in my stash for a while that I just haven't knit up. And so now I am, and I'm loving it. I was just in the mood for a really textured sock pattern, and my yarn is in my cord. So it's knitting up nicely. I'm really enjoying it. Still only the first sock, but I think it'll knit up quickly. Maybe you can see the texture better like this. My stitch marker just reminding me of where my heel turn was. But it's super nice, and these are my sock needles of choice. These are my 2.752 size US 2 size 2.75 millimeter needles. They're my Chowgu red lace, and I knit on a 40-inch cord because that's what I have, and I find that this length actually doesn't bother me. You think it would, because usually on the, like if I knit with worsted weight on a 40-inch cord on a small circumference, that drives me crazy, but with fingering weight, not really. I find it fine. So that's that project, and that is my only whip. Those are my only whips. And I envision finding the fate of this, finding out whether or not this idea is going to pan out, happening quickly. So I should really cast on some other things. Got some ideas turning. It's good. It's nice to be in a creative frame of mind with my stash, because sometimes I look at it and think there's nothing there. Okay, so that's all the finished objects, whips portion. But I did want to say that I did these socks, my Bramble Socks, I mentioned last week. I finished them last week. They are now in testing. I've got so many amazing testers working on these, and I'm super happy with them. So I just wanted to update you on that. The Bramble Socks is a design by me that is going to be updated on April 30th. I released these socks I think 2 years ago, and they're going to be re-released and updated with the official version of my shortcut heel, and with more sizes and charts and just a better, easier pattern on April 30th. But I wanted to share with you some exciting news around it. You can actually pre-order the pattern on Ravelry. I have the listing up as a pre-order, and that means you can snag the pattern. You won't get the pattern yet, you'll get it on April 30th, but if you buy it now, you will get it as at a reduced price, because when I update the pattern, I'm going to increase the price to reflect my work and the value of my work and your value as a knitter, a fair price for both of us. So you can, if you are interested in this pattern and are interested in buying it when it is released on April 30th, if you get it now, you'll get it at a discounted price. I just love this pattern so much. I think my favorite part is the garter and the slip stitch details. I just love it. So I just wanted to share that news with you. That is all I have to share with you on this week's podcast episode. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. Leave a comment if you have any questions. Like I said, all show notes will be listed down below. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy crafting!